Hello traders, this is Frank Paul from Forex Mentor speaking with you on Saturday, October 5th. I'm actually recording this the day before. In the aftermath of non-news. We were supposed to have non-farm payrolls today, but because of the U.S. government partial shutdown, that's being delayed and rescheduled to next week. But I'm not recording this video for the purpose of walking you through a trade. What we're going to do is just talk about a new, potentially exciting members only feature coming to Forex News Breakout trading very soon. I can't promise when. I'm thinking a window of within the next 2 weeks. But coming soon to our members area. Now, before we get to that members area and this new feature we're talking about, in case you haven't heard of us, it might be beneficial to spend just a brief moment talking about what Forex News Breakout trading is. Essentially a rational, price-driven, i.e. naked chart method for trading one of two types of technical pattern setups that we have identified as being most useful, often occurring heading into certain pre-identified market-moving news items. Now, I should just offer both an explanation and a caveat. The explanation is that by the term naked chart or price-driven, what we're getting at here is a complete bypass of any and all technical indicators on your charts, whether MACD, stochastics, moving averages, what have you. Sometimes they can come in handy for helping you to identify a directional bias if you're going to take a news trade, but that's, I would suggest, more the exception rather than the rule. In the event of a sharp reversal, oscillators, indicators, what have you, they're all too lagging to be of use. You can't expect to get into a news trade after the reaction to news happens. You might be lucky, but more often than not, if you've ever tried it, you know that you're just chasing a rocket ship ride, and it can be very stressful and difficult. So what we advocate by way of the methodology that we explain in our course is that where we can get a clear setup that allows us to get in before news breaks, we'll have the easier time of it. And if it's in conjunction with one of two types of technical setups, that creates a higher probability trading environment. Now, that's the explanation. The caveat is you should be very aware of this. I want to be very clear, straightforward, and leave nothing to chance. Only about 30% of all market-moving news items set up with the two patterns that we're talking about here. So it's very important to realize that what we're driving at is a very discerning attitude towards news. You can't just expect that every news item that comes along is going to produce either a reaction of any kind or, more importantly, a clear, identifiable, predictable trade setup. More often than not, it's the case that news doesn't give that to us. So if you don't like the idea of having to let a lot of scheduled news events just pass you by, you're not going to want this course. I'll tell you that right now, just straight up front and honestly as I can. Okay, we don't know which news is going to produce a response, and quite frankly, the market doesn't always respond in a rational fashion. Sometimes good news drives the currency down and vice versa. Again, I would suggest to you that the appropriate bias is indicated by a clear and strong technical setup, if one materializes. So we explain all of that in much greater detail by way of our comprehensive online video course, which you can also get in the optional DVD format for a modest upcharge. 12 modules in total explaining the whole thing with a complete running time of over 6 hours. So it's very comprehensive, very detailed. It's not superficial. There's no fluff or filler here. We're getting at the meat and potatoes of what constitutes market moving news and how do we try to trade it. And we explain the reasons in our members, or I should say at our public website, which I'll give you the URL for in just a minute. Why would you want to trade news? We cover that in our FAQ section, etc. In addition to the online video course, we have a resource-rich members only online area which provides regularly fresh, updated content relating to the current news environment. I pledged at the beginning of this thing to update once a week minimum. I can tell you that more realistically, we're more likely once a day. We're putting something new up, whether it's a new weekly trade recap video, chart of the week feature, a new blog entry, updates to our performance tracking database, which happens much more often than just once a week. Lots of new stuff all the time. You can find us if you're interested in learning more by way of our public information page for the course and service, which can be found at www.forexmentor.com/fxnewsbreakout/index.php as shown here, and our Twitter handle, which you can use whether you're a member or not, is simply FX News Breakout. So go to Twitter, search for us by that search term, and you will find us. And we tweet. Again, I'm committed to regularly, but realistically it's several times a day we're putting up new news-related information there. Okay, what I'd like to do now is just briefly show you the outline of the members area for Forex News Breakout Trading. Now, we've covered this off in recent videos, so I don't want to be too repetitive here. We've got a members home, we've got a learning center tab which gives you access to course overviews in PDF format, both short and long versions, the links for the course modules themselves, and we've got a 37-page supplementary trade methodology PDF document that serves as a concise overview of the course materials. We've got a weekly news calendar tab, and that includes 3 links: the current week, the past week, and next week. We're always a couple days lagging here with next week's schedule because Daily FX doesn't really populate next week's schedule until the middle of the week before. So you can certainly check out the news schedule for the current week, which is updated Friday. So as I record this, we're actually looking at the schedule for the week of Monday, October 7th, and you can go back to last week's schedule if you want to just review the week that was. We have a page for weekly trade recap videos, so once a week I record a blow-by-blow account of a news trade. Chart of the week, which pertains to the weekly trade recap, and we'll keep a running list of links here for all past archived versions, which you can call up. That's all very good supplementary information in addition to the course materials. And Frank's news blog, where we post several times a week hopefully informative articles in relation to recent news events. And put a little bit of a sort of fundamental analysis spin on things. Now, what's not showing here is a new tab that will be added fairly soon, and I believe we're going to call it News Metrics. And what it is going to include is a list of links that will pull up Excel 9703 files, each individually named, pertaining to individual news metrics of interest. Now, as you know, for the 7 or 8 different major news jurisdictions, multiply that through by anywhere from a couple to a couple dozen different potentially market-moving news categories. We could have a pretty massive list of news metrics. And one thing I have to do is manage expectations here. I cannot expect myself to put all that up all at once when we launch this new feature. It's going to be an iterative, incremental process whereby as we progress, we'll just add new links for new database files, which you can click open and view at your discretion. Now, we're not going to make these read-only files. You can save them to your own computer and just update them however you wish, if that's your preference. I can't imagine why anybody would prefer that. We're going to do that ourselves, update things as we go here, but these will not be password protected or read-only formatted files. You can do whatever you like with them. So again, we'll have a list of links and they'll be named. So for example, we're looking at one that's already been built here, monthly ECB rate announcements, and what this does is give you the trend data over time. So you can see at the bottom here we've got 2 tabs, and that will be the consistently used format for all of the files. We'll have a data page and we'll have a chart page. So on the data page you can look over the month by month. Almost all these news items are monthly, some are quarterly, but most of them are monthly, and so you can see the relevant print as released for the metric in question. So for October 2nd, 2013, the ECB left its cash rate unchanged at 0.5%. Now that's interesting in case you want to refresh your memory. Where it's useful, again, is to providing you trend data over time. And this is where you can really dig in if you're a bit of a news junkie and like to do your own homemade fundamental analysis. These various databases that we're going to be populating with will provide that for you instead of having to sort of search around on the net and find scattered sources for these different things. So this is what the data page will look like for the ECB rate announcements month by month, and then we'll prepare a nice chart version of the data so you can see it all at a glance. Obviously, this is a very hugely important trend that we're looking at here. ECB rates pre-crash up to 4.25%, post-crash dropping sharply, plateauing at 1%, and more recently dipping lower and lower and lower. So this tells you a little bit about where we're at in the economic cycle, grand scheme of things. So we're going to do that. We're going to provide chart and data table versions of each of these metrics. And again, I have to stress the importance of expectations here. We won't be able to do all of those data files at once. It takes about an hour of my time to construct one of these things. So you can imagine how long that's going to take over time. But if you're patient with us, you'll see that the listing of Newsmetric files will increase over time. So that's something to look forward to in addition to the already, I think, very compelling suite of tools and resources available for you. So if you're at all interested in news trading, the news environment, even a little bit of fundamental analysis here, I would suggest to you that FX News Breakout Trading is an excellent resource. If you have any questions or comments on today's presentation, feel free to email me directly via frank@forexmentor.com. I'd be glad to hear from you, get back to you as quickly as I can. And with that, we'll leave it there. Please do check us out at forexmentor.com/FX News Breakout /index.php for more publicly available information. Thanks again for joining us today. Enjoy the rest of your weekend. We'll talk to you soon.